Imagine this. You scroll through your feed, and every post, they look different, but somehow they all feel familiar. A fashion ad from Paris, a protest clip from Tehran, a movie trailer from Los Angeles, California. Different languages, different faces, but the same rhythm, the same emotion, the same idea of what power, beauty, and progress should look like. Now, this isn't random. It's coordinated, shaped by people who understand that the fastest way to change the world isn't through force, but through what people watch, what they wear, and what they share. Influence isn't a side effect of culture anymore. It is culture. And the people who can manufacture it at scale, well, they own the narrative that everyone else lives in. Let's talk about it. Hey everybody, welcome to Midweek Sitrep, your bi-weekly briefing on national security and the forces that shape it. My name is Jerry Fowler, and I'm your host. Every other week, I give you the context you need to see what's really going on so you can stay mission-focused. Today's story isn't about armies or treaties. It's about persuasion at scale, the kind that seeps into culture, not policy. How films, music, and media become tools of strategy, and why whoever controls the narrative now shapes the balance of power. Let's get into it. Let's zoom out first. Soft power used to be the elegant twin of hard power, the part of statecraft that persuaded instead of punished. But persuasion, that's a little different now. In the digital age, whoever captures your attention controls your perception, and perception drives policy, markets, and trust. The front lines aren't drawn on maps anymore. They run through screens, studios, and social feeds. Hollywood once projected America's ideals. Now, the algorithm decides which country's story goes viral. And that algorithm doesn't care who built democracy. It cares who built engagement. This is how power rewired itself. Nations don't need to invade if they can influence what people believe about themselves. That's not propaganda in the old sense. It's emotional architecture, coded into entertainment, commerce, and even aesthetics. Here's the playbook in action. South Korea knew it couldn't outgun its neighbors, so it out-entertained them. In the late 1990s, it poured state money into pop culture. Music, film, TV, not as art, but as export strategy. 2 decades later, the K-wave became a global tide. Billions in revenue, millions of fans, and a shift in global perception so strong that South Korea became a brand unto itself. Now, for decades, American movies, music, and media shaped how the world saw freedom. But that power was never really planned. It came from the pull of the market, not the intent of the strategy. Today, the power still exists, but it's being outsourced. Tech companies, streaming platforms, and creators reach billions. Yet their goal isn't diplomacy, it's engagement. And in that gap, the space between influence and intention, other nations have moved in. They're using culture the way we once used military alliances, to win loyalty, define values, expand reach. Because if you don't design your culture as strategy, someone else will. And they already are. A lot of listeners may ask, how does soft power actually work? How do memes, music, movies, how do they change behavior? Here's the truth. It doesn't start with politics. It starts with identity. Culture doesn't tell you what to think. It teaches you how to feel about what you think. It sells belonging. It frames values as aesthetics, freedom as style, nationalism as nostalgia, power as pride. A K-pop video, a Marvel movie, a viral TikTok. They all build worlds where the audience wants to be the protagonist. And once you want that, you start absorbing the worldview that comes with it. Psychologists call it narrative transportation. Marketers call it brand affinity. Strategists call it hearts and minds. Same mechanism, different uniforms. Soft power works because humans are wired to imitate what they admire. That's why influence is so profitable. It's also why it's so dangerous. The best propaganda doesn't tell you what to believe. It makes you proud that you already believe it. So if you're wondering whether you're being influenced, the answer is yes. We all have. The real question is by whom and to what end? So here's the big question. So what? Why should anyone outside a film studio or embassy care? Well, you should care because culture drives markets. And whoever shapes culture shapes consumption. It's why your phone was designed in California, but made to feel global. It's why fashion trends, moral outrage, and political hashtags now move billions in capital overnight. Anyone remember American Eagle, Sydney Sweeney, and her good jeans? For companies, this isn't just marketing, it's exposure. A brand placement can become a foreign influence issue. A streaming deal can trigger sanctions risk. A viral campaign can turn into a congressional hearing. Soft power isn't just a diplomatic concept anymore. It's a compliance problem, a national security variable, and an economic lever. In 2024, regulators even started scrutinizing influencer contracts tied to foreign funding sources. Because influence can launder more than money. It can launder narratives. If you work in compliance, strategy, or law, this isn't abstract anymore. Influence is exposure. And if you're not shaping the narrative, you're already in someone else's. There's a moment when strategy meets statute, when influence stops being abstract and starts triggering disclosure forms. And that's kind of where we are now. The next wave of questions isn't coming from embassies or ministries. It's coming from compliance officers, general counsels, and policy directors asking, where does culture become a liability? Where does influence meet jurisdiction? The uncomfortable answer is simple. It already has. A brand sponsors a concert that doubles as a state PR event. A platform suppresses content to preserve market access. A movie trims a scene to satisfy a foreign censor. None of those choices look like foreign policy, but every one of them carries regulatory consequences. BIS no longer regulates just chips and servers. It's beginning to trace the digital tools that move content. OFAC doesn't stop at banks. It can now sanction media companies that act as propaganda channels. And then there's FARA, the Foreign Agents Registration Act. It's quietly reemerged. Originally written in 1938 to expose Nazi propaganda, it now reaches lobbying firms, media outlets, and even universities that communicate on behalf of foreign interests. The government isn't just watching where the money moves. It's watching how messages move and who's behind them. That's the new compliance crossfire, where culture, law, and geopolitics collide. Because once culture becomes commerce, the rules follow the money. The next compliance frontier isn't what you ship, but it's what you show. If you lead risk, governance, or communications, map your cultural exposure like you'd map your supply chain. Who funds your partnerships? Where's your data stored? Who owns the algorithm that curates your customer's world? Soft power doesn't just shape audiences anymore. It defines obligations. Governments are waking up to a reality they didn't design. That their national image, their elections, even their public trust depend on a system they don't control. That's why the next phase of soft power isn't just about using platforms. It's about confronting them. Every major government is moving to reclaim influence. The EU is rewriting the rules of moderation. The US is investigating data access and algorithmic bias. China and Russia built digital borders around their citizens. What we're watching isn't citizenship or deregulation. It's a global race to define sovereignty, but not over land, over the information itself. Because the question isn't who owns the platforms, it's who owns the narrative that shapes them. And as governments push to control the digital space, they risk learning that you can't regulate belief. You can only compete for it. You can sanction a company. You can blockade a port. But you know what you can't do? You can't embargo an idea once it's gone viral. That's why influence has become the ultimate asymmetric weapon. It bypasses borders, filters through feelings, and makes you believe you choose what someone else designed. The nations that win this century won't just control resources or technology, they'll control the narratives. So the next time a show moves you, a meme enrages you, or a slogan makes you feel something that you can't explain, ask yourself, who benefits if I believe this? Because in the end, the strongest weapon isn't the one you fear, it's the one you love. And that's today's Sitrep. Make sure you keep up with Midweek Sitrep on Substack and YouTube for more on this and other topics. You'll find short clips, interviews, and bonus content. And if you want to support the show, check out our merch on everythingisnationalsecurity.com. Every shirt and hat helps keep us independent and growing. I'm Jerry Fowler, and remember, everything is national security. See you next time. Midweek Sitrep with Jerry Fowler is an independent production of OpScent Media Group, LLC. The information provided in this podcast is for general informational purposes only and does not constitute legal, financial, or professional advice. Listeners should consult with a qualified professional before making any decisions based upon the content discussed. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the host, Jerry Fowler, and any guest, and do not reflect the official policy, position, or endorsement of any current or former employer, client, government agency, military organization, educational institution, or any other entity for which the host, Jerry Fowler, may be affiliated. Mention of a company, product, or service does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation. Any references are provided for informational purposes only. This podcast does not disclose any classified, proprietary, or confidential information. All discussions are based upon publicly available information and personal expertise. Everything's national security. OpScent Media Group, LLC.